Well, good morning, everybody, and a happy November 6th to you. Tuesday, November 6th, 6:02 on my clock. Kyle Madson filling in for the sick Carmichael Dave. Dave is down and out, not feeling well right now, so he's out today. Should be back tomorrow, though don't quote me on that. Joining me, as you heard at the top of the show, is Matt George.
Hello.
Who somehow found time to join the show. I think you sleep here.
I might.
Between traffic and weather and Locked on Kings, which you're still doing, I believe.
Yep.
And covering Kings games.
Yep.
And filling in on game night.
Yep.
And doing Friday night football.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you never leave this place.
You sound like my wife.
You're welcome.
I mean, you're almost as good looking too.
Oh wow, thanks, man.
But that's why we have the video feed.
You're lying
now,
to me off top, and I
know.
appreciate that.
It's called false flattery. It's not called lying. But
okay.
Yes, I spend a lot of time here, but I do it because I love it, Kyle.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, our folks down in promotions gave us an Ezekiel Elliott gif on their daily tweet, which I think means they think we're gonna take an L, because that's what Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys did last night. Thank you everybody so much for joining us today.
Good show, guys.
All right, yeah, we'll see you guys.
See ya. Bye-bye.
It is election day. Midterm elections are today, so make sure you get out and vote. Polling places open at 7:00, and in California, you can actually. I'm not going to advocate what to vote for here, just telling people to go vote. You can register at your polling place. It's one of a handful of states: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Hawaii, Washington, D.C., Idaho, Illinois, Iowa, Maine, Minnesota, Montana, New Hampshire, Utah, Vermont, and Wisconsin. So if we happen to have listeners in those areas, but definitely in California, you can register at your polling place. You'll be given a provisional ballot. It counts the same. They just have to check and make sure that the ballot is valid before counting it. So make sure you go out and vote.
Do it.
Because it's a really cool thing that we get to do. And like I said, not going to advocate what to vote for. Just get out there and go make it happen.
Show off the stickers, too. And stickers are the best part.
Yeah, that's why I do it, is that I get the sticker and then I post it on social media so people know that I am a good citizen.
Absolutely.
Go to gettothepolls.com, enter your address, find your polling place. Super easy. And go do your civic duty.
Did you ever have a doctor or a dentist that would give you, like, when you were a kid, stickers or lollipops for after you'd survived their dental visits?
That's the only reason that I went to the dentist.
Yeah, that's the only reason I vote.
For the sticker?
Yeah, that's it.
I think
I just go in there, check, whatever, give me my sticker.
I think they could increase voter participation by an easy 25% if they gave away candy at the end, like an I voted candy. I'm in there. I'm taking candy.
What would be the official candy of the American freedom of democracy?
Ooh,
because they're not gonna slip in some piece of crap like Butterfinger.
Whoa. Okay. See, that's an unnecessary shot at Butterfinger this early in the morning. Butterfinger never did anything to you.
That's not entirely true. Gotten sick off of those many times.
I think if you rolled in there, I think if I got done voting and they handed me a Tootsie Pop, I think that would be my...
Tootsie Pops are good.
I think that would be my ultimate, like, wow, I'm really satisfied with the result of this.
So, on a completely different Tootsie Pop tangent, with all the Halloween candy that's out right now, my favorite part of Halloween is after Halloween when the candy bags drop to like 2 cents and they're like, please just take it, dear God.
It's all the same candy. It's just repackaged and they put it on sale.
Do you remember when they'd have the big bags of the big size Tootsie Pops and you'd take them home and have Tootsie Pops for like the next 6 months?
Yeah, of course.
They have those big bags now, but they're itty tiny little.
Like the dum-dum styles.
Like, why?
No,
why
I'm out on
ruin a
that.
good thing?
Give me the whole Tootsie Pop or I don't want it.
Does anybody like little lollipops? What do you want to go? It's like a shot.
The NBA schedule is such that we see more. We're going to get into sports in the first segment. I know that Dave never does that, but he made it very clear that this is our show today, so I'm going to do it this way.
Skittles.
We're
I like
get
the
into
text line. Skittles.
Ooh, that
Skittles, Sour Patch Kids, or Starburst are top 3.
What if they gave you a candy that had a sticker on it? So now not only do you get to drop that I voted sticker on that you can post on social media and show all your friends. But you also get a bag of, like you said, Skittles, Sour Patch Kids. I'm in. That way you can have the best of both worlds.
If you make that your campaign, I'm voting for you.
Okay. Yeah, make sure to do that today, because that is the first thing I will do.
Kyle Madson for candy guy.
The NBA schedule is such. They're trying to eliminate back-to-backs. They're trying to eliminate the 4 games in 5 nights. And we get more days off now. Mm-hmm. And 2 days off between games. The Kings played Sunday.
Yep.
And they don't play today. They didn't play yesterday.
So the Kings...
It feels like 10 days off.
Yeah. They played 3 and 4 nights, which was... 3 and 4 nights is fantastic for the fan. It must be god-awful for the player, and I understand, especially on the road with the travel in between. But since that, playing 3 and 4 nights, I think they had 2 or 3 days off before the Milwaukee Bucks game, got their butts kicked in Milwaukee, and now they have 3 days off, 2 days off, 2 full days off, before they have Toronto back at home. So it's great for the players, and especially a team like the Kings that plays as fast as they do. It gives me hope that they'll be able to keep up this pace through the majority of the season. If you had asked me 4 years ago when 3 games or 4 games in 6 nights was common, if you had told me that this team was going to try and play at this pace, I would have told you they'd be burnt out by the trade deadline. But now I actually have hope that they'll be able to maintain it.
Yeah.
But the fan in me wants Kings on my TV every other night. So it's just a living patience test.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's, like you said, the 3 and 4, it's really cool because it's like every day you get the 1 day off to kind of evaluate and see what happened with the back-to-back, and you get your 1 day off, and then you're playing again the next night. But these 2 days off, like I said, it felt like a decade, especially with the Kings playing so well. Mm-hmm. We'll dive into that later, but I feel like I'm following the rest of the league a lot more closely.
Yes.
And I still can't figure out what the heck is going on through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up the rest of the league and being able to follow it and props to the NBA. The NBA just seems to do everything right.
They've got to figure it
out. They know what they're doing, and their scheduling this season has been phenomenal so far as to where I'm not a casual NBA fan. I'm a diehard NBA fan, but specifically mostly with the Kings here in Sacramento. But there has been a game each and every single night that I have been invested in or interested in because of some kind of storyline. And the NBA recognizes that a lot of their suspense and a lot of what makes this league so successful is the storylines that the players themselves create. And you get moments like you got last night with Kyrie Irving chucking the ball into the crowd after Jamal Murray goes off in Denver. I mean, you can't write that, but those games are scheduled so that you're interested in them, or at least you're paying attention to it. I think the NBA, scheduling-wise, deserves a hell of a lot of credit for how they've put together these first couple of weeks.
They're the only league that seems interested in fixing their schedule to benefit players.
Yes.
Because they understand that the quality of play goes up. If you have a team playing 4 games in 5 nights, they get 2 days off and then are playing 4 and 5 again, or playing a back-to-back or whatever it is, they recognize that the quality of play goes down.
Yeah.
And and you have people resting, and I feel like the resting storyline has gone away. Obviously, with Jimmy Butler, it's a weird thing going on. Kawhi Leonard's hurt, but you don't see so much of because that was a huge issue, and it was going to continue being a huge issue with 4 games, 5 nights, and stars resting 2 of those games. But the NBA just seems to continually figure out the best way to maximize the entertainment value of their league.
Yeah, and again, I think scheduling falls in line with that. They recognize who their players are to them. Their players are not lucky to be in this league. The league is lucky to have some of these players, and they realize that and mention that and really move forward with that idea in mind, which is why I think they're so successful. They swallow their pride a little bit and recognize like this league is built off the back of the stars. The TV deal, all the money from endorsements, fan support comes off of these stars. And the perfect example I can give you is I shared in the update the Russell Westbrook story. He injured his ankle. Did anybody remember or know, other than outside of New Orleans or Oklahoma City, that the Thunder beat the Pelicans last night? No, the story was that Russell Westbrook hurt his ankle, and that's what people care about and talk about. Like, I watched the game, and I had to check to make sure, oh, wait, okay, no, the Thunder did play another team and beat the Pelicans, but nobody cares about that because it's how Russell Westbrook's doing and if he's going to be able to heal and come back and be all right. It's not, and the story was What the Raptors did to the Lakers a couple nights ago was without Kawhi. It wasn't a better Raptors team taking on a Lakers team that's trying to figure. It was the Raptors without Kawhi did this to LeBron's Lakers. Like it's all about the player, and the NBA recognizes that. And as long as they continue to do so, they will be the best league in the world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on all that. And when you look at what happened to the Cavaliers, for example, you talk about one player. The Cavaliers started this season 1-9 after 4 consecutive trips to the finals. It's pretty incredible what individual talent can do in the NBA. And shout out to the NBA for recognizing that. We'll dive into the NBA a little later, and especially the Kings. They play tomorrow. They welcome in the Toronto Raptors to start a 4-game homestand. Coming up next week on Morning Brew, the Cowboys get blown out by the Titans at home. Le'Veon Bell may be done for the year, and the United States Olympic Committee finally is seeking to revoke the USA Gymnastics status as a certified governing body. So we'll dive into all that when we come back. This is Kyle Madson and Matt George on The Drive on Sports 1140 KHGK.
Mariota in the shotgun. Takes the snap, looks, steps up, he can run. He's to the 5, he's to the end zone, standing up. Oh, it's maestro time in Big D. Touchdown, Titans! A thing of beauty on Monday Night Football.
Thank you, Mike Keith of Titans Radio. The Titans beat the Cowboys 28-14 last night in Dallas. And once again, we're left figuring out if the Titans are good. And the Cowboys, they might be bad.
I still haven't forgiven the Titans for that Week 1 loss against the Dolphins. To be fair, though, remember how weird that game was?
Very strict.
With all the weather delays,
yeah.
like the lightning delays, even though the sun was out. And
4 hours of delays.
There wasn't a cloud in the sky, but that knocked me out of my survivor pool. But anyway, I've always liked this Titans team, and I'm a big fan of Marcus Mariota. I'm a weirdo. I'm a fan of athletic quarterbacks that are good in the pocket but can get out and run. And I've recognized that there's argument after argument that'll say, well, athletic quarterbacks can't win. Here's Tom Brady. Right. I give you Aaron Rodgers, stuff like that. But I've always liked how this team has been put together in Tennessee. I expected them to win last night. The Dallas Cowboys are very similar. I mean, the same year the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott had their flash in the pan year was the same year the Raiders had the same, and it's interesting to see how both teams have trended, and a lot of it has to do with the offensive line. It's unfortunate. I'm rooting for Amari Cooper specifically and personally, so I'm glad that he had at least a decent performance in his debut, getting a touchdown, 54 yards, I believe, on 5 receptions. But the Dallas Cowboys have a lot of issues to deal with. And I'm glad to see the Titans get a big one in Dallas and Marcus Mariota have a good game.
Yeah, it feels like Jason Garrett is not long for this job in Dallas.
But it's also we said that before?
Yeah, like it's felt like that for half a decade.
I mean,
and he's still sticking around. Dave posited yesterday that if they lose by like 2 touchdowns, that Jason Garrett's done in Dallas. And
so this is his last week then.
Yeah, then he would be getting fired at some point today, but I can't imagine after all this that would be the case after a 3-5 start, especially with Travis Frederick out. You mentioned that offensive line. That's such a key part of what Dallas is doing. But Marcus Mariota, once again, just in prime time, seems to figure it out. He will stink for 3 weeks and then get into a Monday night game or a Sunday night game or whatever and go out and perform well last night. 21 of 29, 240 yards, a couple of touchdowns, no interceptions. A 119.9 rating, and Tennessee stays alive in the AFC South.
And at what point do we run out of patience with him and that team too? Because we feel like they've been on the cusp for the past couple of years. This felt like the season that they really were going to take a step forward, have been pretty much the same. So I wonder what time the patience runs out for that. A topic of conversation for later in the show, so a little preview for this, but I wanted to get your take on the celebration that happened at midfield on the Dallas Cowboys logo and how some of the Cowboys reacted to that. And I've always been interested in players in sports that protect their symbol or their shield or their brand. Like you'll see that a lot in college. Like you don't step on the S or you don't step on the cardinal or whatever it is.
Definitely don't step in the S.
Yeah, the S. S. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Brew number 2.
And gets the shotgun snap. He pumps. He runs. and he throws a lateral pass. And that's Le'Veon Bell, and he gets into the end zone for the Steelers touchdown. What a play by Ben Roethlisberger. The Red Sea parted. He started running and said, well, I don't think I could make the end zone. Here, Le'Veon, I'll throw a lateral pass to you, and you do it.
You can tell that highlight was from forever ago because it involves Le'Veon Bell scoring a touchdown for the Steelers. That was in the AFC Championship game against the Jaguars. Le'Veon Bell, of course, has not played this year. And ESPN is reporting that Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers have not been in contact. And there's no indication that Le'Veon Bell is going to play this season, which based on, so ESPN initially reported, and other outlets initially reported that Bell would need to play by week 10, report this season by Tuesday, November 13th to accrue a year so he can become a free agent. That's not the case because he's already played his 4 years. If he doesn't play this year and the Steelers decide to let him become a free agent, he can do that. And so now it's looking like it may be in Le'Veon Bell's best interest for him to not play football this year.
Will you do me a favor? Will you play that highlight one more time?
Yeah.
Ben gets the shotgun snap. He pumps. He runs. And he throws a lateral pass. And that's Le'Veon Bell. And he gets into the end zone for the Steelers touchdown. What a play by Ben Roethlisberger. The Red Sea parted. He started running and said, well, I don't think I could make the end zone. Here, Le'Veon, I'll throw a lateral pass to you, and you do it.
Right there. Excellent job by you getting that highlight. That is the epitome of why Le'Veon Bell is acting the way that he is. Right what he said at the very end of that call. Here, Le'Veon Bell, I can't get there, or I don't think I can do it. I'm going to throw it to you. You do it. That has been the epitome of what the Steelers have done for Le'Veon Bell, both as a running back and a wide receiver for years. The whole reason why he's holding out to be paid as both, not just the highest paid running back in the league. I don't think there's any reason for Le'Veon to change now and to play now. If anything, it feels like he's taking a step back and then all this was for nothing. I'd rather him, honestly, as much of it as it hurts myself and us as football fans to want to see him play, and it hurts the Steelers, certainly. I continue it. Carry it out. I mean, if this is how passionate you are about this, you're going to get paid by some other team. Some other team is going to grow the brain to give you the money that you deserve. So, I mean, look what the Bears did for Khalil Mack compared to what the Raiders wanted to do for Khalil Mack. Some team out there is going to pay him the money he wants. So I appreciate him holding out and really making this about him, and then for the future of player contracts rather than just him getting stats and numbers.
Yeah, we'll dive into Le'Veon Bell a little bit in the next segment. We'll move on to brew number 3.
Well, it's really hard for me to put into words. I never imagined it would be this bad. I think that what I was just thinking about, I mean, over the last year is just there still has not been a full independent investigation by law enforcement, and that is just absolutely absurd. And until we have that, it's very clear this problem is very much bigger than Steve Penny, Larry Nassar, and this new coach. And so it's so important to get to the bottom of it. And there is no new USA Gymnastics until we understand every single thing that happened, because we can't trust USA Gymnastics because they're not being transparent. She just said unspecified reasons. We don't even know what it is. So how can USA Gymnastics or the community believe them or know how to help?
That was Allie Raceman on October 30th, actually, less than just about a week ago, talking about USA Gymnastics, the investigation into Larry Nassar and the widespread abuse within the organization. And finally, the United States Olympic Committee has decided to revoke their status, USA Gymnastics status, as a governing body. It's a process that's going to take a while, and we'll dive into our takes on this. I think we have very similar, probably, thoughts on this. But as we go to break, we'll make sure to dive into that later, because it is a very important thing that's going on, and finally a step by the Olympic Committee to eradicate the USA Gymnastics of some of the significant societal problems that are going on within that organization.
Yeah, it's just a gross situation. We'll get into more of the specifics and our thoughts on everything a little bit later. But all I can say right now, and I'll continue to say it, is I applaud these women who have continued to perform and chase and pursue the sport that they love, do it at a high level, and manage to all of them who have managed to overcome just the disgusting abuse that they faced doing something that they love to do. I just applaud them for their strength, for their bravery to come out and to speak out, and for also continuing to make us as a country and us as a nation look good at the highest level, performing and giving their hearts and souls at the Olympics. Applaud those athletes, those women. They're incredible. And, I mean, they have more bravery than any of us could possibly hope to have.
Yeah, we'll talk about them a little later and some of the ramifications of what the USOC is doing and kind of the next step there. Speaking of next steps, we're gonna talk about Le'Veon Bell first, though, and find out what's next for him. If he does hold out this year, what happens if he comes back, and what are the chances that he winds up in the Bay Area next year, or I suppose in Las Vegas. Winds up with either the Niners or Raiders. We'll talk about that and more when we come back right here on The Drive at Sports 1140 KHTK.
I'm Matt George, and I've got your stories on Sports 1140 KHTK. The Tennessee Titans made light work of the Dallas Cowboys last night, defeating them by a final 28-14 on Monday Night Football. Amari Cooper managed 58 yards and a touchdown on 5 receptions in his Cowboy debut. Oklahoma City Thunder star and former MVP Russell Westbrook left the game against the New Orleans Pelicans last night with an ankle sprain. His x-rays did come back as negative, though, so that's good news. The Sacramento Kings are off today, back in action tomorrow night as they begin a 4-game homestand against the Toronto Raptors, game 1 of a brutal 10-game stretch. That will begin inside the Golden One Center. Now, more of The Drive with Kyle Madson and Matt George. How about that? Sports 1140 KHTK.
Here we go. The Drive continues now.
Welcome back into The Drive. Kyle Madson, Matt George, filling in for Carmichael Dave. He's sick. He'll be back hopefully tomorrow. Like I said earlier, don't quote me on that. Want to remind everybody you can call the show at 339-1140 or 1-800-920-1140. That is the Fire Wings hotline. 21 delicious flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Fire Wings. Just wing it.
Wing it.
Just wang it.
Wang it.
Le'Veon Bell is winging it. Like that transition?
Nice.
So reports now, in the latest in the Le'Veon Bell saga, he tweeted yesterday, "Farewell Miami," with a hand-waving emoji.
Mm-hmm.
And there was rampant speculation that this meant, "Hello, Pittsburgh." I even went and found 24 tweets within a 1-minute span of each other of people saying that. But ESPN's reporting that Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers have not been in contact at all. He's not at the facility.
Good for him.
And he started this holdout with the goal of players getting paid with their worth, more guaranteed money, whatever it is. And he turned down $14.5 million. That's what the franchise tag was. And he's decided that he's not going to play. If he doesn't report by next Tuesday, the 13th, he can't play this season. He's ineligible to play. And if he comes back now, he'll make about $5 million this year. So it's basically, is he going to play for $5 million if he didn't play for $14.5?
What's the point?
ESPN's reporting that probably not.
Yep.
And what's next for him is the Steelers can put a transition tag on him, which will earn him $9 to $10 million. And what that means is he will have the transition tag, and if he can go explore other options. He can go talk to other teams. Teams can give him offers. The Steelers have the first right to match any offer.
Mm-hmm.
If no teams give him an offer, then he can play under the $9 or $10 million transition tag, which would be a step backwards.
Yep.
And I think a pretty big L for him.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Because he's been saying this entire time that he's sitting out so he can preserve his body for free agency.
Mm-hmm.
So when he hits free agency, he is a healthy, how old is he? 26. He'll be 27 in February. So when he hits free agency, he'll be 27.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be a healthy 27-year-old running back, fresh legs. He's one of the 2 or 3 best running backs in the league.
Yep.
Some would say the best.
Yep.
And he's banking on himself getting paid.
And he's going to.
Maybe.
Oh, I think he will.
Do you think, and we talked about this yesterday some, that James Conner's performance this year will diminish Le'Veon Bell's value a little bit.
Not at all. And I recognize how well Connor has been playing, and the text line mentioned as much. You can't tell me, though, that the Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't be in a better position or wouldn't be at least better off with Le'Veon Bell instead of Connor on the field. And it's because Le'Veon Bell does so much more than just run the football. And don't get me wrong, like Connor's been playing fantastic, and that's actually been one of the best stories of the season, in my opinion. Yeah. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are on cloud 9 that they had someone to step up. You can't replace Le'Veon Bell, but what Connor's doing is about as pretty close as you can get. And Le'Veon is not just a product of his environment. And I mean, I think he's going to put up numbers and put up stats
Super
no matter
talent.
where he goes.
Yeah.
And he's proven enough of that consistently over the past few years that, in my opinion, it's there are not going to be teams that, or there will not be anybody that does not hesitate to throw money at him. Now, some teams may decide they can't have the cap space, or he's not worth it, or they have other pieces already that they want to go forward with. But to me, this entire issue and how this entire saga has played out and been handled is the epitome of why the NBA has passed the NFL, and the NFL will not catch the NBA until they recognize that their players need to be protected and their players are important. Their players are the essence of the league, not the other way around. Le'Veon Bell is one of the best football players that we've seen in a long time. He's a dimensional scorer. I mean, or multi-dimensional scorer. He can do so many different things on the field, and he is a star that people tune in to watch, whether it's fantasy specific or Pittsburgh Steelers fan specific, or just a casual NFL Sunday fan who wants to watch a star play. Le'Veon Bell brings in viewers, brings in money, and brings in overall interest. And the fact that you have that asset that is healthy sitting on the bench because you have teams that are exercising their right. I don't blame Pittsburgh for how they've handled this situation. If you can do the system or abuse the system and keep this player around for 1 year at a time until his production falls off.
The franchise tag is the problem, not the Steelers.
Absolutely. And like, I don't blame the Steelers one bit for doing this. If I was the Steelers, it's easy for me to sit here and sit behind a microphone and say, well, if I was the Steelers, I wouldn't do this. I'd pay him because he deserves it. But then again, if I'm in that situation, I'm thinking, okay, I have a short-term investment. I pay him a lot of money right now. He continues to produce. We keep paying him money year by year by year. But once he drops off, like most running backs do, then I'm not paying him anymore. The franchise tag is the issue. Also, part of it goes back to the NFL Players Association that bargained.
Really weak.
Yeah, terrible. So there's a lot of things that needs to work or needs to be fixed, and they need to work on. But the fact that you have a star in Le'Veon Bell that is sitting out probably now an entire season when healthy and capable of playing, and you're trying to make him look like the selfish bad guy, that's why the NFL is going backwards.
It's going to be fascinating because Todd Gurley signed a contract extension with the Rams, 4 years, $57 million, $57.5 million, which falls just shy of the $14.5 million annually that Le'Veon Bell would have made this year. So if Todd Gurley is setting the running back market, is somebody going to pay Le'Veon Bell more than the Rams are paying Todd Gurley?
I think
arguably the league MVP?
I think so. Because, in my opinion, Le'Veon Bell has proven that he can and does do more.
Interesting.
And all it takes is one team. Like, there's so many teams out there. All it takes is one to recognize we are right on the cusp. We are a offensive star away. Le'Veon Bell's available. What do we have? Give him everything. Like, bring him here. And
you're going to throw you think there's going to be a team that throws the kitchen sink at him that bucks the trend of going away from running backs and having a plug-and-play system with running backs, and they say this is going to be the centerpiece of our offense.
I think Le'Veon Bell will be the face of a different franchise come the start of next season. And I think teams will pay him to be the guy, their guy, and they will market him as the number one star.
I don't think the Niners are going to do that. I don't think
so
the Niners will pay him because Matt Breida has broken out and looked like a nice piece. Raheem Mostert,
and it doesn't make sense.
Has looked like a nice and then they have Jerick McKinnon coming back. They paid Jerick McKinnon all that money.
Right.
I think Le'Veon Bell is out as an option for the 49ers, although they will come up because of the need for a multidimensional back in Kyle Shanahan's system, and Le'Veon Bell certainly fits that. It'll be interesting to see. If John Gruden and the Raiders make a play for him in free agency.
It makes no sense for Gruden to do that, in my opinion, because Gruden has time and time again gone away from stars with big contracts because he doesn't. I mean, in my opinion, I'm very low on John Gruden, and we'll talk about Gruden later. Yeah. But he has proven time and time again that he does not want someone with more prestige and more power on this roster than him. And if the Raiders pay Le'Veon Bell for him to come here, arguably Le'Veon Bell holds the majority of the chips for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's suddenly the face of that franchise as they open up a brand new stadium. He's super marketable, and Gruden is coming off of a horrific season, maybe two, as we have to wait and see what he does with all these draft picks. Le'Veon Bell does not make sense in any way for the Raiders, and I hope for his sake that the Raiders aren't the team to drag him down.
We got to go here, but do you think the Steelers would match an offer? Because I think they would.
Really?
Yeah, I think they want to see what the market is for him, and unless some team offers him $20 million a year, but if some team offers him the Todd Gurley contract, $4 and $57, I think they'd do it.
Interesting. I think that would say more about Connor and how much they think is he going to be able to build upon the great year that he's having, or is this a flash in the pan year?
Right. So we got to hit this break. When we come back, we started talking a little bit earlier about the United States Olympic Committee seeking to strip USA Gymnastics of its governing rights. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back, because there's a discussion to be had here, and I think the USOC is finally doing the right thing. Yep. More on that when we come back on The Drive. It's Sports 1140 KHGK.
Well, it's really hard for me to put into words. I never imagined it would be this bad. I think that what I was just thinking about, over the last year is just there still has not been a full independent investigation by law enforcement, and that is just absolutely absurd. And until we have that, it's very clear this problem is very much bigger than Steve Penny, Larry Nassar, and this new coach. And so it's so important to get to the bottom of it. And there is no new USA Gymnastics until we understand every single thing that happened, because we can't trust USA Gymnastics because they're not being transparent. She just said unspecified reasons. We don't even know what it is. So how can USA Gymnastics or the community believe them or know how to help?
That's Allie Raceman, USA gymnast, as we get back to The Drive right here on Sports 1140. The United States Olympic Committee, that was Raceman a week ago, talking about being unable to trust USA Gymnastics because of their inability to right themselves after the rampant sex abuse scandal that took place over the last couple of decades. And the United States Olympic Committee has finally taken the action to has taken the first steps to strip the United States Gymnastics, USA Gymnastics, of its rights as a governing body, saying that they are incapable of properly running as a governing body. And since the Larry Nassar scandal took place, USA Gymnastics has continually failed to put itself back in a position to help and protect the 150,000 athletes that participate under USA Gymnastics, under that umbrella.
Yeah.
And this is something that Allie Raceman, we just heard her say, that the athletes can't trust USA Gymnastics. And the United States Olympic Committee finally, after a massive cover-up by USA Gymnastics of the Larry Nassar scandal, and then the hiring of people after the fact that helped cover it up, it is just a massive failure by USA Gymnastics, and good on the USOC, even though it took them probably a little too long to do this, to just burn it to the ground, to get rid of everyone. And USA Gymnastics will be around again. The athletes are still competing. We saw Simone Biles just become the first American athlete ever to medal in every event at Worlds. So the athletes are still competing. They'll still be at the Olympics. They'll still be training. But the governing body of USA Gymnastics is being completely torn down to its foundations, which is what needed to happen. They need to start over. Yeah. Because they weren't gonna just, this isn't something you slide under the rug. This isn't some financial thing where there was a bribe happened and you can get rid of that person and you replace them and everything's good. This was a massive, massive sex abuse scandal.
Yeah. No, well said by you. This entire situation does two things to me every time I hear it. It makes me feel like just physically disgusted, and then it makes me angry. And my impulse anger immediately goes to the USOC for taking as long as they have and for treating this issue like it was one of a stack of piece of papers on a desk that needed to be filed away and fixed. The fact that it took this long, the fact that they gave them chance after chance to try and dig out of their own grave that they made for themselves. It's weird to say one of my favorite videos that I've seen in regards to this entire situation is one of the fathers of the girls who was abused by Nassar that jumped through the courtroom and tried to attack Larry himself. I think there are millions upon millions of people in this country that would have done and wanted to do the exact same thing that he did. And it's gross that this situation has been handled the way that it has and that it continues to happen this way. All the while, I look at, from an athletic standpoint, what these women continue to do. I look at what Simone Biles has been able to do and how much these women have overcome, and they're still competing at the highest level and doing so and bringing pride to this country, bring pride to themselves, to what they do, their families. It's horrific how this entire situation has happened. If hopefully this is the first step towards wiping the slate completely clean, cleaning out all of the dirt and all the crap and making it what it should be about all along, which is the safety, health, and the well-being of these women. I cringe when I hear these kind of stories. So hopefully this is the start of change for the better.
Yeah, and I think it is. And obviously nothing's going to fix what happened, but you can take steps to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Mm-hmm. And USA Gymnastics was failing miserably in taking those steps. So the USOC did the only thing that it could do, and something that people have been calling for months, is just getting rid of the entire USA Gymnastics organization. And they're finally taking the steps to do that. There has to be an investigation. The investigators have to present the case, and then there has to be a vote on it. So this is a process that will be ongoing for a while. They can't just strip USA Gymnastics of its rights as a governing body, but it's going to happen because this is the right thing to do.
And in my opinion, the only evidence they need other than what's already come out is the fact that time and time again, USA Gymnastics has made it more about saving face than protecting their athletes.
Correct.
And to me, that is the first and last issue that regards them, or that needs to have this governing body revoked. I mean, that's what it should always be about, and they failed not just once, but almost like hundreds of thousands of times in regards to each and every single one of these women. So hopefully this process doesn't take that long. I mean, everything is right there.
Yeah, so this is something that we'll continue to track. Like I said, this is probably going to be a months-long process, and whenever there's new news, we'll certainly get in and chat about it. That's going to wrap up the first hour. When we come back, we wanted to get into some NFL. The Titans beat the Cowboys last night and further muddied the AFC playoff picture. So we're going to look and try and separate contenders versus non-contenders to see who is going to be a factor down the stretch over the final few weeks of the NFL season. And before we go, I want to remind you to join the 1140 Street team tonight outside the pavilion at UC Davis as the men's basketball team hosts San Francisco, 7 p.m. tip-off. Get your tickets at UCDavisAggies.com. First hour in the books. He's Matt George. I'm Kyle Madson. This is The Drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.